and welcome to the Basics of Gardening. I'm Andrea Cananosa, and if you clicked on this video, it's probably because you want to learn how to start planting. Great. But it can be overwhelming when there's so many options out on the market. How do you decide which one to choose? Hopefully, by the end of this video, your choice will be a lot easier to make. Before we begin this video, let me say a quick little disclaimer. Disclaimer: the process of growing plants will differ from plant to plant and where you live. A way that growing plants may work for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So, if you find that my video does not provide you with enough information, please go out and experiment to see what works best for you. First, let's talk about where you're going to have your garden. No matter how much space you have, you can always have a garden. If you have a spot in your backyard that your parents said that you can use, feel free to use that space to start your garden. Of course, know that the number of plants that you can have in your garden will be limited to the space of your garden. What if you don't have any space outside to plant? Well, then you can always plant something indoors. Before you start an indoor garden, calculate how much space you have before you start your plants. Do you have little to no room? Then I would highly recommend starting an herb garden because they take little space and they can be planted at practically any time of the year. Just make sure that you continuously water your plants and allow them to have enough sunlight during the day. Herbs like temperatures between 65 to 75 degrees, so they'll love the temperature of your home. If you have a little bit more room to grow your plants indoors, then I would recommend planting plants that can be grown inside that aren't too big. This means no watermelons or pumpkins. Some plants that you can plant indoors are carrots, green onions, hot peppers, spinach, kale, arugula, potatoes, radishes, and tomatoes. When it comes to growing these plants, you should make sure that you're using indoor potting soil and watering them a little less than you normally would. This is because they won't need to be sitting outside for numerous hours a day under the hot sun, so they won't need as many nutrients or water to keep them alive. That being said, you should still water your plants and give them a whole bunch of sunlight to grow. If there isn't enough sunlight, then you can buy some grow lights. Grow lights are artificial lights that mimic the sun so that your plants can grow. But they are a little costly, so I would opt for using window lights if I were you. Now that we know where we are growing our plants, let's talk about how we're going to grow them. There are multiple different ways that you can start off planting, but let's focus on the two most common ways: starting with seeds from a seed packet or starting from a pre-planted plant. Starting with seeds may seem like the harder choice because you have to grow them for longer, but it's cheaper in the long run. Planting from a seed packet is pretty easy, but it may seem scarier than it actually is because of all the information on a seed packet. Let's learn how to actually read a seed packet. Let's look at this watermelon packet. On the front, it says what type of plant it is and the scientific name. It also lists the price. The front of the packet is the easiest part to read. Once you flip it to the back, it repeats what type of plant it is and the scientific name, but there's more information that can be found. There's also a sentence describing how the plant's fruit will look like when it's fully grown. Underneath that sentence, there are the instructions on how to plant the seeds. It tells you how many seeds to plant, what type of soil to plant them in, how far away you should plant them, and even when the seedlings should emerge. On the very bottom of the packet, there is a map that shows when to plant the seeds depending on where you live. On the right side, there's a simple overview of the seeds. It says how much sun the plants need, how many days it will take to harvest, how deep to plant the seeds, and how thin the plant will be. If you plant the seed correctly, it will hopefully begin to germinate. You may be asking yourself, what is germination? Well, germination is the process of a seed becoming a seedling. Germination also allows the seed to put down its roots and start growing the actual plant. If you want to learn more about this process, I highly recommend What is Germination of Seed by Mocomi Kids. I'll link it down below. Now that we have covered seeds, we should discuss the other main option, pre-planted plants. It definitely is easier to plant these because it already has its roots down and there's already a little bit of a stem. However, these plants can be pretty expensive depending on the type of plant, and if you want to plant more than one, you have to buy multiple. That being said, if you're short on time or you don't think that you can raise a plant from a seed to a seedling and you have the money, then this option might be your best choice. After buying the plant, you have to transfer it into your garden. But how do you do that? Well, it's pretty easy. First, check to see what the condition of the soil in the pot is. Is it overly watered? Is it too dry, or does it feel just right? If it feels too wet, let the water drain out a little bit before planting it in the soil. If it's too dry, then you should water the plant a little by little until it feels as though it has soaked up as much water as it can. Next, dig a hole in the soil as deep and as wide as the roots of the pre-planted plant, and then dig another ½ inch around it and below the hole, so that the plant sits a little smaller than the hole. Next, put the plant in and cover the extra space with the dirt. Water the plant and put soil around it. Keep watering the plant every day for about 3 to 4 weeks, and by the end of those weeks, the roots of the plant should be fully incorporated into the soil. Now that we know where and how to start our garden, I hope that you can go out and actually use the information from this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you guys have a great day.